You want to tell me Lee and Becky Lynch aren't the two most electric, boundary-breaking women in WWE history, that they didn't both redefine what a female wrestler could be inside and outside the ring? Think again. If you're a real wrestling fan, get ready to have your opinion scorched, because this is the untold, brutal, and glorious road that would have led Lee and Becky Lynch to collide at WrestleMania 42. And trust me, after hearing this, you'll be yelling in the comments, sharing this with every wrestling friend, and raging about the missed opportunities that cost WWE one of the most seismic matches in modern history. Question 1 for the comments: which one of these two would you pick to win at WrestleMania 42, or Becky? Type or Becky and tell us why. Chapter 1: 2 icons, 2 eras, 1 idea. Lee and Becky Lynch, 2 names that carry weight, charisma, and controversy. One was the raw, rebellious, unpredictable indie heart transplanted into the WWE's glittering but rigid system. The other is the firebrand of modern wrestling, a working-class hero who became the man, a symbol of toughness, resilience, and mainstream crossover appeal. Imagine a road that pulls them together not as a one-off match but as a WrestleMania main narrative, built with patience, emotion, and the kind of storytelling Vince and his writers have all too often botched. Lee was the wild card. Funny, twisted, brilliant on the mic, and capable of delivering a match that felt like a slice of performance art. Becky Lynch's grit personified, battle-scarred, intense, and with a momentum that can turn a stadium into a cauldron. Put them in a ring with WrestleMania on the line, and you don't get a neutral entertainment moment, you get a war for the soul of women's wrestling. And yet WWE let so many doors close instead of constructing this road properly. Question 2: which Lee era segment do you miss the most? Her crazy chick promos, her feud with Caitlyn, or her Divas title run? Drop it below. Chapter 2: the build, seeds planted. First, any credible road to WrestleMania must feel inevitable. The seeds have to sprout months, even a year beforehand. Here's how WWE should have set it up in the modern era. Start with Edge's return. Not as a nostalgia act, not as a cameo, but as a permanent force. WWE teases Edge making sporadic appearances, abducting moments on SmackDown and Raw, derailing matches with her unique brand of chaotic charisma. Every promo questions Becky's legacy, the man cute. But is she the future or just a moment? That line alone would ignite the internet. Parallel to Edge's infiltration, Becky's status must be cemented. She's a fighting champion, dominating mid-card and main events, reclaiming titles, and bankrolling a run that says she's the heartbeat of the division. Becky gets high-stakes matches, big promos, celebrity interactions. She's the woman who turned superstardom into oxygen. Then comes the collision course. Edge attacks Becky at a contract signing for a title defense. Edge's promos are surgical, personal, unpredictable, and vicious. Becky answers with raw heat, a "you wanna test me" fury. Their chemistry ignites instantly. Edge's deranged charisma versus Becky's granite resolve. The feud explodes across social media, with every segment dripping venom, weird humor, and unavoidable intensity. Chapter 3: psychology and strategy. What makes this match work? You can't sell a WrestleMania match on name value alone. It needs psychology, the story told in strikes, counters, and the dragging of a thumb across a throat. Here's how the match psychology plays out. Lee's whole arsenal is mental dominance. She manipulates the crowd, targets vulnerabilities, and uses her unpredictability like a weapon. Edge pulls things Becky cares about into the ring: her reputation, her friends, even her scars. Edge uses run-ins of her own obscure allies, eccentric distract irons, the sort of performance that makes fans thrill and cringe simultaneously. Becky's advantage is durability and adaptation. She absorbs Edge's chaos and converts it into methodical punishment. She isolates Edge, makes the match dirty with submission work and corner strikes, and then hits the visceral high-impact moves like a modified manhandle slam with raw ferocity. Importantly, the match mustn't be a one-move highlight reel. It needs momentum shifts. Edge's trademark dives, hairpull misdirection, and unorthodox submission attempts clash with Becky's ruthlessness and signature offense. The crowd should alternate between exultation and horror, the arena swinging like a metronome from one reaction to the next. Question 3: if you could add one submission move to Edge's arsenal for this feud, what would it be? Say the move and why. Chapter 4: key moments on the road. A believable road to WrestleMania needs turning points, moments that inject fresh oxygen into the feud. Here are the 5 signature beats that would make Edge vs Becky legendary. 1. The betrayal segment. Edge saves Becky from an attack by a heel faction, but only to later reveal she engineered the attack so she could be seen as the one who tried to help. The betrayal sells Edge's manipulative genius and makes fans hate and love the complexity. 2. The contract ambush. A live contract signing spirals into chaos. Edge uses an old-school table and chairs, rips Becky's vest off mid-contract, and stomps the ring, leaving Becky bleeding and furious. Bleeding in pro wrestling sells stakes. This right here convinces people that WrestleMania will end careers. 3. The spoiler win. On a big pay-per-view before WrestleMania, let's say Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber, Edge pulls off an upset over Becky in a controversial finish, a roll-up while grabbing tights, or a distraction from an ambiguous ally. Becky loses momentum. Edge claims legitimacy. Becky's fans scream for justice. The narrative is set. For the Ember promo, Becky sits alone in a dark locker room, the camera close, voice hoarse. She talks about sacrifice, everyone she's lost, and why Edge's disrespect is personal. It's raw, real, and ends with Becky whispering, "I'm coming for everything." This sells emotional weight. 5. The final confrontation on Raw. The final brawl minutes before WrestleMania. Both women are battered. They trade heavy blows, pull out iconography from earlier in their careers, and the show goes off-air with the feud at fever pitch. This makes the walk to WrestleMania electric. Chapter 5. Match type. What fits? You don't want a stale singles match with guaranteed 10-minute middle, you want nuance. If the WrestleMania main event has to elevate the match type should amplify the story. Strap match too gimmicky. Appears to make sense for Edge chaos, but robs Becky of technical salvation. Steel cage overused. Falls count anywhere tempting. It allows escalation, spots around the arena, and moments that let Edge exploit venue oddities with her eccentricity. But the best option are 2 out of 3 falls with no disqualification in the final fall. Think about it. First fall is psychology-based submissions and counters, gives Edge a chance to look like a pure technician and manipulator. Second fall is Becky's comeback, brutal, grounded, methodical, and leaves the score knotted. The final fall, no DQ, explodes into chaos. This structure provides storytelling arcs inside one match, letting both women shine on different terms while reaching a jaw-dropping crescendo. Chapter 6. Character evolution during the feud. Edge can't just be crazy chick, she needs layers. She alternates between charmingly wicked and psychotically precise. She reveals glimpses of vulnerability, a backstory segment where she talks about being overlooked and turning pain into performance. That humanization makes her more dangerous. The audience believes she can legitimately break Becky. Becky must evolve from scrappy champion to avenging hero. Early on she's confident, perhaps even cocky, but Edge undermines that, forcing Becky into desperation. Those emotional setbacks make Becky's ultimate triumph cathartic. She becomes less showman and more warrior, shedding performative arrogance and embracing pure survival instinct. Chapter 7. Supporting cast, who helps or hurts. For a match of this magnitude, outside voices must matter. You don't want too many allies, just the right contrasts. Sidelined veteran turned manipulator, a figure like Natalya or Paige, someone who can belt out old-school psychology and drag cred into the conflict. They get involved via promos and isolated run-ins. A charismatic heel manager for Edge. Edge doesn't need it, but a sly mouthpiece or mask-wearing oddity could add menace. Think of a Paul Bearer-esque presence who whispers secrets into Edge's ear. Becky's ally, a stern ally such as Shayna Baszler-like enforcer who gives Becky backup but also forces Becky to show restraint, creating drama when Becky refuses to use outside help. These additions create intrigue without overwhelming the core narrative. Question 4. Which ally would you want to see align with Becky for this feud? Name one wrestler who would make sense. Chapter 8. The payoff. WrestleMania 42 night. The night itself, WrestleMania 42, under arena lights, 50,000 people roaring. Imagine the pyro, the palpable tension, and the opening bell like a guillotine dropping. The match unfolds with the 2 out of 3 structure described earlier. I'll break the night into 3 cinematic acts. Act 1, the opening fall, the chess match. Edge's mind games create a visual poem of manipulation, choking in tights, toe holds, and taunts that cut deeper than any physical strike. Edge wins the first fall via dubious tactics, rolling Becky up while grabbing tights. The crowd erupts with outrage and electric disbelief. Edge saunters away like she's already won the night. Act 2, the equalizer. Becky regains dominance. Using a sequence of suplexes, elbow strikes, and submission holds, Becky levels the playing field and takes the second fall cleanly. She stares down Edge, voice raw, the arena shaking at her battle cry. The match is now tied, and the world knows this will be remembered. Act 3, the final fall. As the no DQ rules hit, everything explodes. Edge pulls out every trick, chair shots, unorthodox handheld weapons, and a dangerous dive from the barricade that leaves Becky reeling. But Becky's resolve is iron. In a sequence of desperation, Becky counters an Edge top rope maneuver into a manhandle slam onto a chair, and that final, crushing move yields the pin. Or does it? The finish is razor edge, referee down, late interference averted, and Becky forces the pin in the chaos. The crowd erupts. Becky wins. Tazz leads out of the arena hanging between triumph and tragedy. Chapter 9 Alternate endings and controversy. Wrestling thrives on controversy. WWE leaders sometimes rely on contentious finishes to protect both talents. But this feud deserves a clean, decisive finish. A clean win at WrestleMania would elevate Becky's legacy and legitimize Edge's return as a force that pushed Becky to be better, and that's the story you want to tell. However, if WWE wanted to prolong the feud and milk attention, they could give it a controversial false finish. Edge passes out in a submission hold, the referee calls for the bell, chaos erupts, the match is restarted in fury, but the damage to Becky's body is long-lasting. That would create a rematch trilogy steeped in moral complexity. Is a tainted victory better than a clean loss? Fans would scream. But my take: a definitive WrestleMania finish honors both women's legacies. Chapter 10 Legacy. What this match means for women's wrestling. This is the key. Edge vs Becky at WrestleMania 42 shouldn't be an isolated spectacle, it's a statement. It tells future generations that women's matches can be nuanced, violent, and emotionally resonant without the usual WWE sugarcoating. Adds out their creativity and Becky's workmanlike intensity balance each other. Their match becomes required viewing for any aspiring wrestler who wants to understand psychology, selling, and crowd manipulation. More broadly, a match like this rewires WWE's booking template. You reward long-term storytelling, you value character evolution, and you realize that female talent can headline a WrestleMania with as much conceptual integrity and mainstream heat as any male main event. Question 5. Do you think WWE should have brought Edge back full-time earlier? Yes or no? Explain in one sentence. Chapter 11 The promos. Lyrical violence. What would their promos sound like in this feud? Edge's promos are punctuation marks, cryptic, acidic, and sublime. She uses dark humor and crippling specificity. Picture Edge leaning into a camera, whispering, "You can be the man when you stand alone." But what happens when melody breaks and bones speak? It's poetic and mean. Becky's promos are grit and conviction. She barks raw reality. "I've been punched. I've had everything taken. I don't do this for applause. I do this so the people who doubted me know what fury looks like." Delivered with a cracked voice and a stare, it's visceral and immediate. Their exchange becomes a duel between a poisoner and a soldier. The promos are mini-speeches that puncture each other like knives, giving fans content to clip, meme, and debate for months. Chapter 12 Fan reaction, merch, and media. Consider the commercial and cultural fallout. Edge vs Becky at WrestleMania would move merch, create viral moments, and dominate wrestling media. Even non-wrestling outlets would pick up the story because Becky's mainstream cachet meets Edge's cult notoriety. WWE Network would blow up with replay streams, and the match becomes a benchmark in recaps for years. Merchandising can play a role in storytelling. A promo tee from Edge with an unsettling slogan, Becky's redemption motif shirts featuring torn symbolism. Fans would debate which tee is more iconic. The feud drives social conversation, trending topics, and crucially ticket sales for future shows. Chapter 13 What went wrong in reality. Here's the painful truth. WWE has frequently undervalued long-term booking and allowed talent to leave before the timing was right. Edge's actual WWE run ended too soon. Becky's rise was explosive, but sometimes the machine around her misfired. Instead of building the slow-burn collision everyone would have wanted, the company chose quick payoff and short-term shock value. If this potential match had been banked on, properly nurtured, it would have been one of the all-time great feuds, nuanced, painful, and unforgettable. Chapter 14 Post-WrestleMania, keeping the fire burning. After such a match, the story continues. Imagine Edge re-evaluating, retreating into a darker character and making cryptic appearances. Becky ascends to new heights but also carries physical and psychological scars. They meet again, not out of necessity but out of narrative inevitability. Their trilogy becomes the stuff of legends, the first match a statement, the second a controversy, the third an instrument of closure. Conclusion: why this would matter. This match would prove that wrestling literature is at its peak when it's allowed to breathe. Edge vs Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 42 is more than nostalgia or marquee value. It's an argument that female storytelling in wrestling can be dangerous, brutal, and transcendent. It's a match that could have reshaped a generation's expectations. So tell me, did WWE waste an opportunity by not creating this collision? Was this the dream main event or a dangerous fantasy? Sound off below. If you were writing the final promo for either wrestler, what would their last line be before the bell? Post your one-liners in the comments. The best ones get featured in our next video. Question 6 bonus. Write the final line Becky says to Aj before the bell. Keep it short. The best line wins a shout-out. Outro note: no intro included, per request. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want a follow-up where we script the entire promo series week by week leading to WrestleMania, say so in the comments. We'll map out every beat, segment, and social tease to build the perfect Aj vs Becky feud. And remember, share this video with fans who think they've seen it all, because this is one feud that would have burned the house down. Now go argue, debate, and share. Which of these women would you put in your corner? Which line cut deeper? Pick a side and defend it with fury. But the fight goes on in the comments.